Welcome back to the club. We're your hosts. I'm Ebony Chapman.
And I'm Akila Friend.
Okay, you guys, today we are going to be talking about vaginas, okay? So best practices on how to keep them healthy during the most sensitive time of the month, which is your period, ladies. If you are tried and true and sticking to the tampons, or have you upgraded and crossed over to new territory with the period cup, okay? I don't know about you all, but I'm still with the old school vibes. I haven't switched over to the cup yet, okay? But our next guest, she has been featured in Forbes, Huffington Post, Refinery 29, Yahoo News, Black Enterprise. You guys, the list goes on and on and on and on. So we are joined by millennial business consultant, keynote speaker, best-selling author, podcaster, and founder of Game Changing Industries and The Best Period, which is her brand. Okay, so please let's welcome Gayneté Jones.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us. And I feel like this topic, even though it's amongst us girls right now, amongst us women, sometimes people get so like clamped up when folks want to talk about not only women's health, but specifically your period.
Periods,
yeah. Right?
It's so funny to me because right now Squid Game is like all the rage, right? And there's blood and no one's really making a stink about that. But something that comes so naturally like a menstrual cycle, everyone's like, nope, too far, don't talk about it. And it's like, that happens naturally every month, So it always makes me smile because society has almost groomed us to be ashamed of something that's so natural for our body.
Totally. Say that again.
Like, totally. I think there is so much weirdness about it. It's kind of like a taboo, like how sex can sometimes be like oh my God, I can't believe you said that, or I can't believe someone did this. Like, I feel like a period can kind of be the same thing. Before we really get into it, I would love for you to kind of just tell us and tell our audience a little bit more about yourself, who you are, how I read a little bit, just you had a life-changing experience and how you were a young mom and had to kind of push forward. So if you could just like give us a little quick story about, how we kind of got to here.
To best period.
Oh my goodness, I never know where to start. So I'll give like a super duper condensed version of it. So as you mentioned, my name's Gayneté Jones. Right now, you said all the things that I'm doing currently, but I was a teen mom. I was a Rotary exchange student. I got held hostage in Venezuela as an exchange student. I had a lot of life-changing moments and things that helped me put things into perspective, I should say. But at the time, I thought my way forward was to climb the corporate ladder. And I realized really quickly that wasn't quite it for me. I used to sit at my desk, just bored to tears, like this can't be life. So I wanted to figure a way out of it all. So I wrote my first book back in 2015, and I used that as the platform to really start getting into the business side of things. I then started teaching people to self-publish successfully. From there, I started like a little bit of business coaching once I got people successfully making money with their books and different things. So we moved from that. And then more recently, I had someone on my podcast. So I have a podcast, Freedom Slave Podcast. And she is a product creator. She makes hair bonnets and she was selling them on Amazon. And she was really just solving a problem for Black women in particular, because she's like, I didn't find any bonnets at the time, this was many years ago, where she could put her braids in and all this kind of stuff. And she's like, I just wanted to do that, to fix that. And she solved a real problem. And I'm like, you know what? I'm doing things with my business. I'm able to change lives, but it's nothing I can see physically manifested like in front of me. So I wanted to come up with a physical product. And yeah, what I came up with was a menstrual cup. It's a menstrual cup, but it isn't a menstrual cup brand. It's a period care brand because it's going to expand beyond that. But at the moment, it is a menstrual cup. So I actually have Best Period is the name, and that's period with a T. And it's a menstrual cup, which is a replacement for pads, tampons. And yeah, it's the new wave. That isn't very new. It's actually been out since like the 1930s. I think the first cup came out.
Yes, but it seems like now, and I think it's timing is part of every business, right? And it seems like now at least more folks are at least somewhat open to the idea, women and men. Men seems to be very much involved in women's health. We can talk about that as well.
Period.
But at the same time, it seems like now is such a great time for you and your product to really launch. At least folks are having more of an open mind towards it all. Like, do you feel like for me, when I think through periods and I think through menstrual cycles, I think through even growing up and kind of having the people not even being comfortable with saying I'm on my period. It's more so Aunt Flo came to town, this is kind of the moment that I'm in. I don't know if you've experienced that same thing of just really when it comes to your business, just getting across not only the stigma, but at least just saying what it is. Hey, this is a menstrual cup. This is for your period. This is, just being very upfront about
the word
the word choice.
For sure. There are a bunch of humps to get over, and especially with our brand, talking about menstrual cups is so different anyway, right? People, like you mentioned earlier, are used to using tampons or pads. So it is using the words. It's also making light of it. I put memes up on our page. I find that comedy sometimes helps us to relax a bit and get more comfortable with the things around us. So we use memes to talk about periods. We use the word period and vagina. We use the word, we use other words as well, but we tend to put the real things in there as well, menstrual cycle, to ensure that we're just making it more normalized, because the more you hear it, the more comfortable you become with it. So it's more about education. And I think that's why now may be the better time to be doing it, because you have access to so much. We have YouTube, so I can sit down and explain it on a video. We have podcasts like this where we can talk about it a bit more openly, whereas before it was just face-to-face conversations, or you may see someone on an interview on like prime time, but they're not really going to talk about certain things on there. So it's just leveled the playing field with all the social networks that we have now.
Yeah, I'm really curious, just because like I mentioned that like I'm still on like the tampon route. Okay. I've not switched over or even tried, or even I've thought about it, but I haven't like taken the plunge to try the menstrual cup. So could you explain, I guess, the difference, or maybe why it's healthier to use the menstrual cup versus a tampon, even if it is organic and natural?
Or a pad, because I know folks,
For sure. And I think I'll start by saying even tampons, so that's a step. There are many people afraid to still use tampons, right? So it's just all of it. It's all a personal choice, really, but there are definite benefits for using a cup. So we'll talk about some of the health benefits and, just the ease and convenience with it all. So with tampons, one of the issues many people have is the dryness it causes. It can create irritation because of the cotton. A lot of times cotton is chemically treated with hormone altering chemicals and things like that. So you have that piece of it, whereas a cup, you don't have any hormone altering anything. You have silicone, medical grade silicone. But beyond that, it's also more convenient because it holds more. So this cup I'm holding is a size 2 for me. And this one holds 8 regular pads or tampons worth of blood.
8?
So 8.
Stop
Right?
it.
It holds 8. So that means less changes. It makes life more comfortable. And we've had people who were strictly tampons previously say, you know what, I was nervous. I looked at your page, got a bit more comfortable. I'm glad I made the switch, because now I feel more empowered. I could go into a meeting and not feel like, oh crap, do I have to change? Or, because I know I have a bit more time. And that's the other thing with tampons, you aren't supposed to have them in for certain amounts of time, right? Most doctors recommend around 6 hours. 4 to 6 hours usually. And with this, you can hold it up to 12. So it's like you only have to change it once or twice a day. It's really just more convenient with it in that sense. So it's cheaper as well in the long run because it's reusable. This cup can last up to 10 years. So you're saving money, you're helping your body, you're helping the environment, because the last stat I saw, I think it was 20 billion one-time use menstrual care products end up in landfills in the US alone annually, once a year, right? So it's just so many reasons to make the switch, but I also get that it's something different and it can be scary. You're putting a foreign object in your hoo-ha, right? So a lot of times people are like, do I want to try something different? And it's just understanding that it's going to take time. Even when you first try a pad, you may not have gotten it right the first time. Maybe you took too long to change it. Maybe you didn't put the ring properly. It's just something that you can learn over time. So we have really detailed instruction manual. I tell people, give it a cycle or two in order to get used to it. Wear a pad with it. Wear a panty liner with it, just so you feel more comfortable and confident going about your day until you can create a leak-free seal, because it could take time. Some people get it the first try. Some people, it takes them a cycle or two to really feel comfortable to just be walking around with their cup alone, right? So it's managing expectations, I find super important with stuff like this. You have some companies that would be like, it's the best thing ever. It's super easy, so easy you don't need instructions. That's a lie. It is easy, but it could take some time, right? So especially because it is something new. Tampons, when you first use is in them, you don't know if you're putting them in correctly. So it's just understanding we have 400 plus periods in our life. So it's saying, you know what, am I willing to take 1 or 2 or even 3 if you have a really difficult time to figure this out? Maybe it is worth it if it's going to be better for your body, better for your pockets, better for the environment. You'll give it a try, you know?
I mean, honestly, the stats alone, I feel like if we just had that on a screen, like some of the things you said, like 8, it's the equivalent, a size 2, the equivalent of 8 or you know, just 8 tampons or pads. Like that's just so, and considering the fact that folks are in, you know, when you think of the flow, when you think of when I think personally, speak personally, when I think of a menstrual cup, I'm thinking of, oh my gosh, the mess. And it's definitely, right? You know, yeah, and it's definitely obviously, it's obviously probably one of those myths, right? Because the fact that it seems like it takes way less mess to use a cup versus using a tampon or potentially a pad on average is astounding. And so I don't know if you can say anything when it comes to folks thinking of the in and out, thinking of the insertion, thinking of being in public and potentially changing.
How do you wash it
in
public? Like if you're in a restroom and you take it like.
And that's the thing. So I knew that there would be all these questions. So I've done YouTube videos on it. We have stuff, FAQs on our Instagram, answering those questions. The thing is, because they do hold a lot more, you have way less changes. Most people find they don't even have to change them publicly because, you know, they might have a regular flow or a lighter flow, whatever. But no matter what, you'll be changing it less than you would your pad or tampon. And so many people have come to us and said, it's way less messy than I thought. You know, I think the thing is, many of us still have this stigma that period blood's dirty. And it's like, no, it could be messy, but it's not dirty, right? It's coming from your body and not even touching anything outside of it yet. So it's not dirty. But what we teach is once you take it out, what you're doing is pinching the base to release the suction, because it does have like little holes at the top, which creates like a seal. You pinch the base to release the suction and you pull it down, keeping it upright. So it stays in, the blood will stay in the cup. You dump it into the toilet. If you are in a public restroom, you have a couple options. You can, you know, wrap a napkin on your way into the bathroom and you can wipe it off that way. Some people just put it right back in and reinsert it. You also can bring a bottle of water or whatever and wash it off with the water if you have that in your purse. You have plenty of options. You have wipes out there that can work. So there's options out there, but it usually shocks a lot of people, even the very first time they try it, that it's a lot less messy than they thought. And then once they get the hang of it, they're like in and out. Like literally went to a movie. I saw Shang-Chi yesterday with my cup in, went in the bathroom, changed it, came out, I was fine, right? So it's like, it's fine, like it's fine. And that's
like no one's gonna die, like you will be fine.
You'll be fine. There was no...
You mentioned something interesting that you said this is a size 2. So it sounds like, you know, just like with the tampon where you have extra super, or you know, whatever, super regular, light, all the things. What are the sizes and like, you know, how does that
right? Actually, and I wanted to mention something. I'm glad you mentioned the absorbency, because you did ask earlier, like the main differences. So a pad and tampon absorbs the blood, whereas the menstrual cup collects it. So that's one of the main differences between the two. But with it, it's size 1 and size 2. Most cups have, you know, 2 sizes. Our size 1s even tend to have, it tends to be bigger than most brand size 2s, because I understand that Black people on average tend to have heavier flows. And I know that I have a heavy flow. So I was like, I'm creating a cup that works, right? And that makes sense for me and for people like me. So even our size 1 holds just under 6 regular pads and tampons. So with the size 2, we tend to say it's for those over 30, if you've had a vaginal birth, if you have a super heavy flow, if you tick any of those boxes, then the size 2 would be a better option. The size 1 would be on the opposite end of the spectrum. If you're under 30, if you haven't had a vaginal birth, if you have a lighter or medium flow. But with that said, I've used both. The size 1 doesn't fall anywhere, right? So either one can work, but it really just comes down to a preference. The biggest thing is where your cervix is located. And that's something a lot of people actually don't know about. So your cervix, it feels like the tip of your nose. It's okay. We're going to get real technical. Is that fine?
Do it.
Let's get
it. Okay. So the cervix is at the bottom of your, okay. I don't even have my vaginal diagram nearby me. But when you have your period, what happens is your lining sheds from your uterus, and it travels through the uterus, through the cervix, and then into your vagina, which is the long what would you call that? Like everybody knows what a vagina is.
I know
the vagina and goes into the cup, right? So between the vagina and the cervix is the length, right? So the opening is at the bottom, which is where your vulva is. You have your vagina, and then you have the cervix up the top. And some people have shorter cervixes. So, well, a shorter cervix, which means it's lower. It comes lower on the vagina. So some cups may be too long, but you have some options. You could cut the stem, you could turn them inside out. The size 1 is shorter, so it will work better. It isn't something many people have a huge issue with, but there are people that have, shorter cervixes.
That's literally what I was thinking about too, because when you think of, let's say, a tampon, for instance, the other piece, when I'm just comparing, obviously, insertion options you can have, like the other thing, the tampon has that longer string, so you can really pull, and it seems like with the menstrual cup, it's really that stem that's shortened, but it's also made of silicone versus kind of cotton that can just kind of compress easier, I'm assuming. Like, I don't know if it's uncomfortable at all to sit.
You shouldn't feel it at all. If it's inserted correctly, you wouldn't feel it. So there's a few ways you can fold it. Some like to do the C fold, which is just folding it in half, make it a C and insert it that way. I prefer the push down fold because it makes a smaller entry. It's much more like a tampon. Can you see that? Yeah. So it's smaller. You can insert it. It opens up. It pops up once it's in there. And you would just pinch the base and pull it down. So unlike a string, it's not hanging out of your vagina at all. But a fun fact,
heard that you can have sex if you have this cup in. Is that accurate?
No. So there are people that try with cups in. They haven't killed themselves, but you shouldn't. You should, like with a disc, they say that's possible. So that's like the much flatter. Now that's like a step up from the cups where it's like even more intense for people. So like, I'm nervous, but I can't even explain it. It's like, it looks like a pancake, but it lays flat. It goes right up, like underneath the cervix, and goes up and holds it. And with that you can, but with the cup you shouldn't. No, that's the only thing you can't do though. You can sleep, you can do gymnastics, you can twerk, you can do whatever you want with a cup in, except for that.
Good to know.
I just say break the myth because I saw it on the internet, or maybe it was some other brand said it. So I was like, okay, we got to make sure the people know it. Period.
The internet says a lot of things, but no, not with a cup. Maybe you saw like a menstrual disc that had that option.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I'm curious too, because you kind of touched on earlier, and I think it's important to say, you said part of you, when you came up with best period, is really specifically targeting Black women, and the fact that our periods are statistically heavier and what have you.
More likely to have fibroids. We just have different issues. I often, and I've even changed, like I don't use the word woman because I do understand too that a lot of people that bleed may not identify as a woman, but yeah, Black bleeders in general tend to have heavier flows. They're more likely to have fibroids. That's just statistically proven. So yeah, that is something I kept in mind. I wanted a cup that was big enough, right? And when I say big enough, meaning capacity wise, to hold the heavier flow. And I also wanted to just make sure we was represented. So even like the instruction manual has brown buddies. I've never seen brown buddies in an instruction manual. It's time to change that. So it's just some ways I wanted to see myself reflected in what I was creating, because I just haven't seen it up until this point.
Yeah, and I think it always makes a difference when a product, a business, or anyone is like from the very beginning is thinking in a diverse perspective versus like, kind of feeling like you were an add-on. I'm curious if that's reflected like kind of in the cost as well. Like how much do your products run for?
So the cups are online for $34.95. And when I asked a few people on Instagram, or what do you call them? Not the poll, the Q&A questions. And I said, how much do you tend to spend on a monthly basis? And many people were saying between $15 and $20 roughly for their period. Some people were around $10 mark, but it's like after 3 months, then you've made your money back, right? And now you're then in the green because it can last for 10 years. So it really is you pay a little bit more upfront because it's $34.95 compared to maybe a box of tampons for $10 or $15. But then, 3 months later, you don't have to pay for anything because you just have this cup.
Yeah, it's incredible. Like it's a win-win to me. It sounds like very, very cost efficient.
So are you trying the cup next time?
Best period. Okay, that's what it's gonna be.
Women have a lot of sensitivities when it comes to our vaginas. How does the cup help with like PMS or cramping during someone's period? If it does help, just because there's not those chemicals, or, you know, your body might be reacting differently to the.
Yeah, so there haven't been any scientific studies on cups themselves, like how they help with the cramping. However, we have so many testimonials on our site. We have not testimonials, reviews on the site. We also have many people screenshots from Instagram on our reviews highlight talking about how they have much easier periods. They said their periods, some of them are shorter, some of them have lighter periods, less cramping. And I'm just like, oh, that's amazing. And I did say, because we haven't seen any studies on it, you know, at this point it is anecdotal, but that's a common theme with people that are using the cups. And I had a presentation a few months ago, and there was actually an OBGYN there, a gynecologist was on there, obstetrician and gynecologist. And she did say her reason was because she said, unlike a tampon or something that's like blocking the blood and absorbing it, she said it's freely flowing, which makes it easier. So I'm not sure, because again, I haven't seen any research on it. She should know what she's talking about. She's a gynecologist, but for sure, that is a common theme. A lot of people have a lot less cramping, especially those that have suffered with fibroids. That's something we've heard a lot of people saying, that it's one of the easiest periods. Well, it is the easiest of periods since they've used the cup.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I'm curious too, if we can just like think about this in the larger spectrum of women's health. You know, like, you're hailing from Canada. Thanks for joining us from, obviously, you know, up north. But if not only in Canada, but also in the US, we've seen kind of the rise and the consistent trend of politics being involved in women's health and in women's bodies overall. Most recently, we see Texas. Abortion. You know,
I roll. So annoying.
Can we talk?
Frustrating. It's so frustrating. And I mean, I'm in Canada. I live in Canada. I'm from Bermuda originally. And yeah, it's something that I think is a worldwide issue, where we've just constantly had our bodies regulated, right? And you don't see that same regulation with other things. Like, I put a post up a few months ago, and I was saying, you know, you can go into even a pharmacy, not a pharmacy, you can go into a, what do you call those places, geez? Where do you go when, like, where they have the free condoms that you could get, like a birth control pill? Clinic, yeah. So they could go into the clinic and get like free condoms, but then you still got to pay for like menstrual stuff. You can't get that free, right? So it's like something that's so natural. And the condoms are also always geared towards men. So it's just so crazy to me that women have been neglected for so long on so many levels. Like, you're still getting taxed on menstrual care, something that's a necessity for everybody, for just about everybody. And then you don't have that on the opposite end. So it's just so frustrating for a lot of reasons. But yeah, the Texas, oh yeah, that makes me mad.
It's crazy.
I know, and I hope everyone is out there looking on current events, okay? Because I feel like we didn't explicitly say it, but basically Texas, you know, they're banning essentially abortion,
or shortening the time frame, which is kind of like
get an abortion.
You know,
I think it's like 3 weeks or
6
something.
weeks, which is still very short. And I think usually it's around, I'm going to say, to that 13-week mark, 8 to 13 weeks. So yeah, depending on the state. So it's very much individually regulated, and obviously country by country, the laws may be different there as well. But yeah, I completely agree with what you're saying. A lot of the, you know, whether it be sexual health, women's health in general, it's very much geared towards men and that interaction with men. We can talk about birth control. We can talk about that with you know, condoms and things of that nature. And obviously, condoms
free, but birth control is something that is under you know, you have to either pay for it, or it's a prescription by
and when you think about it, it's like, how often are you able to get pregnant a month? Right? You have a 5-day window roughly, right, where you are fertile a month, whereas your opposite sex has 365 days a year that they could potentially create a child. So it's just so crazy to me that they're the ones that's getting the free stuff, like the free condom at, you know, the clinic or whatever, whereas you have to usually pay for what it is that you need.
Absolutely. And then with paying for that comes a lot of explanation that you might not be ready to do to somebody else, you know, to have to kind of plead your case for these sort of things. And so I think that's another reason why it's so important to at least talk about what you're doing, because it's, at the very least, the bare minimum, it's providing another option for women and for, as you mentioned, just menstrual bleeders. to be able to participate and to have some level of control over their health. Do you feel like that's kind of what, when you mentioned the testimonials that you received, is it really about that level of control, or what is kind of the major themes that you see popping up for folks who are feeling empowered from using menstrual cups?
Yeah, I would say it's a bunch of different things. So some of them are like, it's better for the environment. I'm going for it this way. Some people feel more powerful because they don't have to worry about the, inconvenience of having to change more often and all of that kind of stuff. And again, it's the money, the savings. So they're saving money on that end as well. It's a lot of different reasons. And obviously you don't have the dryness that pads and tampons can create as well, and the messing with the pH. So it has a lot of different benefits to it and why people use it. But we try to keep our message as empowering as possible. And again, we throw in some laughs in there too, because you have to be able to laugh at some of this because it really is a joke sometimes.
Right. I also love just kind of different brands that we're seeing really pushing forward the women's health, like Honey Pot, another like Black owned business, and other, like, I think there's one, it's called like Cora.
I think
Cora Cup, and they have the disc too. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and just like natural, like I think we're really pushing towards that like natural, clean body health, like don't put anything foreign in your body. And I like to see like brands push that message as well. I feel like there was Tampax and then it was like, that's it. There's literally one brand that people would normally go to. And so now to see more like clean beauty in that space.
Options, for sure. It gives you the option of choice, right? Because if you only see a Tampax or Stay Free or whatever it is, Kotex that was out before, you don't really think about the alternatives. You don't think about what's in it either until you have the healthier options, right? So even when you're looking at like, let's use a bag of chips. If you got chips in front of you, you're going to eat them. And then if someone comes and says, well, these chips here are using sea salt and they have this instead of this and they're trans free or whatever, what's it called? Trans fat free, then you're going to start thinking, okay, well, maybe the other stuff had that. It just makes you more consciously think about what it is you're putting on and in your body, because it's important, right? I mean, even this stuff's touching your skin. Your skin's your largest organ. And it's important that we understand that the things we put onto it can be absorbed into the bloodstream really quickly. So it just helps to create that education, like giving them another option then starts making people question what they've been using before, makes them start doing a bit more research and learning, which is all positive, I think.
Absolutely. Well, you know what else is positive? It's listening and dialing into the Black Creators Club week over week. We have this show and we thank you so much for listening and watching, because what we do is really promote folks like Gayneté and the like. So if you like what you're hearing, definitely subscribe, comment below, and just engage with the conversation. We are on all platforms at the Black Creators Club. And if you have a question, if you have a guest idea, if you want to be a guest, reach out to us at the blackcreatorsclub@gmail.com.
Yes. Okay. So this conversation has been so informative, and you guys, I think I might be switching to the cup, child. I think I might give it a try.
Give it a try. I mean, tell me what's your biggest hesitation with it?
For me, it's trying something new.
Mm-hmm.
It's also the idea that I love the idea of not having to change often, but then it's also like when I do have to change, like how am I going to get it up there? How am I going to get it out? Like those are my two things.
Mm-hmm. We got you. So the instruction manual breaks everything down. The YouTube channel has tons of videos about how to properly insert and remove. You got this. But if you have any questions ever, you can always shoot us a message on our Instagram page. We're very interactive there. We'll send you a voice note and walk you through it. We've talked to people in the bathroom. We're got you. Don't worry.
Love that, because that's what's so neat. And I think for folks, that fall, I guess, on more on my side of the spectrum, which is just like, if I don't have to, like a tampon is kind of my last option. It's not like I'm, afraid of inserting or anything like that, but I don't like, when it comes to the chemicals, when it comes to really just like the foreignness of it being in my body. And so I'm more so, granted it's still touching, I guess, my vagina, like pads, but I'm definitely more so on that route. And then let's say if I'm going out or if I'm doing something where, a tampon is definitely just more convenient, I would go for that. So for folks who kind of fall more so on my end, who, like I mentioned, a tampon is the last resort, it seems like at least if I had to choose, a menstrual cup is definitely, again, the safer option, the less mess in a lot of ways.
And it's a lot more comfortable. We've had so many people, like, I just encourage you to go on the page and look at the highlights where it says reviews. They're like, I can't even feel it. I forgot it was even in, you know? So let me know, try it and let me know what you think.
For sure.
We're gonna try it for sure. Yeah, well, I'll get it on the next round next month.
For sure. Yeah, we usually do these BCC try situations, so we might highlight that we tried
and let you know how it went. Yes, I'm on the way up Aunt Flo. She's leaving, Charles. She's leaving, so it's good. Okay, so we are gonna play a cute, quick little game. So basically, we are going to describe to you some other women's health brands who, you know, also have like period cups and tampons and whatever, and then you kind of just like identify which one we're describing. Okay. So the first one, I feel like this one is easy. This one you got. Okay. So the description, it says, get protection and comfort every time, has a unique leak guard braid to help stop leaks.
Well, that's a tampon, but like unique leak guard. Is that Tampax?
Yes, nice.
They're so boring.
Yeah. I know.
That sounds like any tampon. Like, let's guess Tampax. Okay.
No, that one's perfect. I mean, that the part that was like the leak guard braid, I feel like they said that in every single commercial.
Yes. So something about that braid. They are obsessed with that braid.
I'm gonna let you know it's absorbent.
Right. So this next brand, it's from Procter & Gamble. That they're the owners of this brand. It's an American brand. Yes, you better know.
My daddy works for Procter & Gamble, so I like Tampax is Procter & Gamble too, actually.
As well, yes. But for those who didn't know, tagline is rewrite the rules always.
That is so funny. Like, I love it when you just get it right away.
Just know what to do.
Just know what it is. Okay. So this one, it says stay clean, fresh, and balanced. Even during your period. It is also Black owned. I'm gonna do like natural. It's all natural.
That's Beatrice Dixon with Honey Pot.
Good.
Yeah. Okay. I thought we were gonna trip you up. We are not. I love it.
You got it. I feel like, how about you go ahead and say what your slogan is with best period?
Oh goodness. So we have a few different fun things we like to say, but the slogan we have on the box is finally a cup that slays.
Okay.
Beyonce a cups, okay?
That's made for us. That's made for us. I feel it.
Right. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, I feel like that is it. Like, we didn't even need that. What the heck? You literally aced that test.
Find a cup that slays. That's where we need to end it.
That's where we need to end it. Like,
that is hilarious.
And also too, like, I noticed like you have your yellow sweater on, the boxing branding's yellow. You said that your favorite color is yellow. Queen Bee is also yellow. We're using Slay. So I just love, for me, that's my connection, and I'm all for it.
I love that you love it. Yeah, what I saw is that the menstrual care industry, just in general, it's a lot of the same things. Like, it's a lot of pastel colors, usually pink and purples, and just real feminine colors, which is fine. But I'm like, you know what? I want something that's different, something that's gonna stand out, something that speaks to me. And at the end of the day, like you said, I love yellow. So I'm like, let's do that. You don't see a whole lot of yellow popping on the shelf for anything. So I wanted to incorporate that for sure. And it's more gender neutral as well, because some people aren't like girly girls and don't want pink everything, you know?
Very true.
Totally. So where can people find your brand or like purchase it? Is it, just online, or is it in some stores?
Oh yeah, so we're in a few stores. We're in about 20 something at the moment, but we're constantly growing. It's a new brand, but we are also at bestperiod.com. So that's best periods with a T, bestperiod.com. We're at best.period on Instagram and best period everywhere else, YouTube, Twitter, like we're everywhere at best period. And my personal page is Gayneté, so Gaynete. I don't think I showed the case either. So that's the other unique thing we have that the other cups don't. So they came with these little baggies that I thought were annoying. And I'm just like, they create lint. I don't like them. If the cup's wet, it's going to get wet. So we have a cute little case that has little holes in it, so it keeps it, it's really hygienic, and it's cute, like it's counter cute. We're trying to look, it's a cup that slays, right? So we're trying to be different with it.
Yes. And it's still discreet, because sometimes even if you're carrying around a pad or a tampon, it's like,
you gotta hide it in the sleeve and like make sure I put it in my pocket or something when I go to the bathroom. Like I'm just trying not to make it look obvious. So, I'm like in my backpack, like trying to make
you hear the wrapper and
the whole works.
The whole thing. So I love something that's like, oh, what is that? Oh, it's my beauty sponge. Don't worry about it. Because that's exactly the shape it is. So we love that. Okay. Gayneté, we've literally enjoyed our conversation, the energy, the information. It's been informative. Women's health is literally at the top of everyone's list right now, since it's such a hot ticket on just, Capitol Hill and whatever.
All the hills.
All the
things. So, thank you so much for sharing your opinion and kind of, going in with us on that. So Akilah, where can they find you on social media?
Yes, you can find me chatting the media industry and life motivation, all with a dash of style, at Akilah Friends. Ebony, where can they find you?
Yes, you guys can find me on Instagram talking everything Black-owned business, and of course the Black Creators Club at Ebony Chapman 12. You guys, we've had such an amazing time. We love having Gayneté on, and we are excited to have her back and to give a review on the period cup.
Yes, please do. Thank you for having me. And one thing I did forget to say, we're also on Amazon, so Amazon.com as well.
Amazing.
Oh,
amazing.
that makes it so easy and convenient. Like, yes, yeah. Amazon is
we're in a few stores in California, New York, a few places, but Amazon, everybody's there. So.
Love that. Okay.
Everyone's on Amazon. So you guys, remember to always abide by your ABCs.
Always be creating.